Just think about it.
Now.
All right, I'll introduce you, Mikkel.
Yes.
So, Mikkel is currently a Danish boy living in Canada.
I've always been Danish, actually.
Yes, it's nothing new. You're currently living in Montreal, doing your PhD in garbage pickup.
Correct.
And fun facts about Mikkel, he enjoys badminton, and that's about it. Not too many fun facts, yeah? Anything you want to add to that introduction, Mikkel?
No,
I don't want to sell you short.
No, I think that sums me up perfectly, actually. There isn't much more to it other than that. And I'm sitting here with Ross Maske. Not physically sitting, we're pretty much online for this whole thing. But he's South African born, grew up in the Netherlands, currently a young professional, living in Chicago, working for Novartis. What's interesting about us, I guess, is that we grew up, went to school together, went to the same university, and now we both found ourselves in North America, and this is our little podcast.
I would just like to clarify the university part. I got my offer to go to university before you.
That's not true.
To follow.
That's not true at all.
The exact facts of how it went down.
No facts there. I think I got my offer in October, and you had to wait a little bit longer.
Yeah, so we'll start off. We have a few things to discuss in this podcast. I think the first thing we should talk about, Mikkel, is the life difference between you as a student, as me as someone who works and earns money. I think our lives are a little bit different at the moment.
Well, you tell me, what's it like being someone who works and earns money?
I mean, it's interesting. It's different from being a student. I don't have to scrounge as much as I normally do. However, I think I still spend less money than you. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I think over a year, my yearly spend is less than you.
I don't think that's a trait of you being a young professional and me being a student as much as you just being a hoarder of money and your life goal being to have as much money as possible in your bank account.
I mean, for these times, it works out perfectly, even though my job is pretty stable at the moment.
Yeah, saving for worse days. You know? 7 good years, 7 bad years. You want to save during the good years.
So I think a good difference would be if you had $100, if you found it on the floor straight after this podcast, what would you go and do with that money?
I can't go anywhere. I'm quarantined.
Okay. Let's take this as a more hypothetical question. Shops are open. Everything's not shut down because coronavirus hasn't infected the world. You go find $100. What do you do with it?
I'd probably buy some nice food. Yeah. Honestly, that's all I'm spending money on these days is food. I budget my food, but if I had just an extra $100, maybe I'd buy some nicer ingredients and cook up a good meal. How about you?
I'd probably just deposit in the bank.
Yeah, and eat soup, and eat canned soup.
So I was actually extremely mad during the coronavirus peak hoarding, where my typical aisle is a soup aisle. Canned soup is the best.
Yeah.
And it was empty.
Right.
And I couldn't buy any canned soup, so I had to order food.
Did you have to pay for delivery?
Yeah.
Disaster.
It was awful. It was awful. How much do you spend on eating out, Mikkel? In a month?
In a month?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, let's start per week because then I can do the calculation real quick. Maybe $50-$60.
Wait, $50-$60 eating out?
Yeah.
A week?
Maybe less. I'd say $50. Let's say.
A week eating out? No, I'm talking not grocery shopping. Talking about going to a restaurant, eating food that you haven't cooked for yourself. No way you're spending $50 on that. a week, or
No.
we need to lower your stipend.
Low. Cut it short.
Yeah.
Honestly, it depends on the week. Maybe
Yep.
I don't know. Realistically, I'd definitely say like it could vary. I mean, some weeks are like high peak spendage, and some weeks I don't spend anything. Like the last whole Corona, like I've spent like nothing, like $0 on eating out every week. Before that, it really depends on my deadlines. So if I have like a deadline, I will maybe eat out for lunch most days, just because it's quick.
Yeah.
And I haven't like made enough to have food during the week, but some weeks then I won't at all because I'll be really good with my meal prepping. So it averages out.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a boring answer.
$40 maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Fair. Probably I eat out twice a week and spend close to $80 a week on eating out.
That's so much.
But that's just because I'm inherently.
And that's US dollars.
Lazy.
I'm talking Canadian.
Okay. Yeah. That's a clear difference to make.
So that's four US dollars.
Yeah.
I spend a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair. But when you eat out, do you go to like a restaurant and sit down, have a waiter, all that sort of stuff, or like waiter is a lot to ask in North America, but I guess we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But it's like sit down, you have a meal, right?
Yeah. Typically, it won't be just a takeaway, a quick takeaway, except now where it's just takeaways.
Yeah, for me, like 9 out of 10 times, it's definitely just takeout. Eat it at my desk.
I enjoy the dining experience though.
Oh, definitely, but the dining experience is way more expensive.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
I think the worst part about the dining experience is paying the tip though. I think I'm fine with people earning money, but it just seems like such a con.
It should be included. Yeah, it should be included. I definitely agree with you there. Yeah. As a European, I think it should definitely be included.
I think that brings us on to our second point about us being Europeans, growing up in Europe, and now we're living in North America. These strange places.
Strange. Definitely strange. Oh my God. Strange characters.
What would you say is the biggest thing about North America and the strangest thing? The biggest difference, I should say.
Well, so in day to day, I live in Montreal, so there's a lot of like European influence and there are some similarities, but I think if it's like considering North America as a whole, I think the weirdest thing to me is like the general attitude towards just things in general. Like it seems so different, like better and worse, depending on what it is. But there's so many situations where like there is no way I would have approached it like that, and then I'm just flabbergasted that that's how it is. If we're talking like on a big scale, I guess like tipping is a good one, where I think it's ludicrous that it's not just included in the salaries, that like everyone has to be like dependent on whether I want to tip or not, and then we go from there. Like it seems so arbitrary and ridiculous.
I agree.
One thing as well I noticed very early on here is like the attitude towards the police. I don't know if that's a general North American thing, but I feel like it is. It's like police, like at least where I grew up in Denmark, like you would feel kind of fine with the police around. It felt like, oh, they're there to help you out. Like they're not gonna try and like get you. You know, they're not out to get you. They're just there to try and do their job. And I feel like here it feels a lot like, all right, the police are out to get you. Like it doesn't always feel safe.
The pigs are there.
Yeah.
Goddamn pigs in North America.
Mm-hmm.
I must admit, there's a lot more horror stories about police here.
Yeah.
The police. I guess it's justified in a way based on the number of stories that come out and things like that. But yeah, I agree with you from that point of view.
What do you mean by justified? Like what is justified?
There's so many stories about police people taking their power too far.
Yeah, and I've experienced it, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like I wouldn't just go by the media. Like I've seen it. Like, yeah.
Wait, you've seen it?
Yeah, I mean, we had so one little story. We had a gathering, a little house party back in my first year here. So I guess it's like 3-4 years ago. And we were playing a lot of loud music, and it was very late at night, and there was a lot of people. And fair enough, like that's not allowed. So either the police were around or someone called them, I don't know, but they like kicked in the door to the apartment, which I thought was ridiculous. They could have knocked. They could easily have just knocked and someone would have opened up, but they just kicked in the door and started shouting, and you're like, okay, you could have just knocked and told us to shut up, but no, kicked in the door and then gave us a $400 fine or 600 or whatever it is.
Did the door break?
Yeah.
Who had to pay for the repair?
Nobody. Well, the person who lived there. I'm not sure. I didn't live there. It wasn't my party. I was a guest, so I didn't really have anything to do with it. I just saw it. I just happened to be there.
Did you help pay the fine?
I think we disputed, or whoever lived there disputed it, and didn't end up paying in the end.
No, that's
based
good.
on the fact that the police got the postcode wrong or something. I don't know. It was some stupid thing.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that's a pretty drastic way of entering, to tell people to be a bit quieter.
Yeah, I would have thought.
You would expect just a knock and then, pipe it down and then leave, and then if
Yeah.
that happens again,
you'll get a fine. Yeah, like a warning or whatever. But I don't know.
Just straight to the fine.
Yeah, straight to the fine, no mercy.
No, I mean, the only difference, or the main difference that I've noticed here is people are so loud.
Oh yeah.
People just love to chat about anything.
Like loud in public. Like
yeah. So I mean, I spent a lot of time working, so what I see is mainly in work. But I remember the first meeting I was in, and I guess I was taught a culture where if you don't add much value in a meeting, you shouldn't be talking.
Right.
But finish the meeting. There's 20 people in this meeting, so it's still way bigger than it needs to be. And this guy just rambled on about something completely pointless for about 15 minutes, and no one told him to stop.
no one interjected.
No one interjected this guy, and everyone was like, "What is this guy saying? Why is he bringing this up? It has no added value." So then I realized that people love to, just talk.
Do you think someone would have interrupted in Europe?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so too. I think Europeans aren't as worried about being rude, or like worried about like saying, "Oh, listen, this is ridiculous."
Maybe not in the UK.
Right.
But they would have spoken behind the guy's back straight after the meeting. But I feel like if there's any European from continental Europe,
yeah,
it would have been like, "Hey, this has no point. Let's move on.
This seems ridiculous. This is not the time or the place." Yeah. No, I think I agree with that in general. I mean, all of this is huge generalizations, but
yeah.
But I agree.
Yeah.
That's so funny. So
materialistic.
What about when you moved over here? Did you change anything about like your food or your dieting or the things you cooked or the things you ate, like based on what's available?
I just eat canned soup, Mikkel said.
So it's been the same.
Yeah, it's been pretty much the same, just bland canned soup throughout.
Okay, fair.
I mean, I've started to eat out a lot more, which I guess is inherent to the American atmosphere here.
I think it's also a lot cheaper to eat out over here.
Yeah, that's true as well. Actually, that being said, I don't know. Grimsby was pretty cheap.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's true. I don't think it gets much cheaper in Europe than Grimsby, where you paid about £5 for a fish and chips.
Huge fish and chips too.
Yeah,
that's true. That is pretty cheap.
I would say I started drinking a lot more coffee outside of work and like at Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, really?
That's a habit. Yeah, that's a habit that changed. But everyone just went there. So what are you going to do when they say...
With your colleagues and stuff? Like, you want a coffee? Yeah.
What are you going to say? No? I'd rather have this free coffee inside work.
Yeah.
Everyone would think you're a cheapskate.
Yeah. I got money to put in the bank. What are you guys crazy?
Exactly, yeah. The worst thing is perfectly good coffee. I would say is an improvement to the coffee that I normally drink at work.
Yeah.
And then spending $5 in Starbucks to buy a shitty latte.
Yeah. That's true. Actually, my favorite coffee is the 75-cent coffee I can get in the office or at the university.
Yeah,
Uh,
my favorite coffee is the free coffee at work.
yeah, ours isn't free, but it's dirt cheap. I mean, if you bring your own mug, because again, I'm in Canada, in Montreal. Gotta be environmentally friendly. Gotta keep up to date with all these trends,
That's
which is a good thing.
that's another thing here. So I got told I don't put a cup on my coffee, so I use a disposable cup, and they have
That's
these lids.
awful.
Yeah, they have these lids that you put on to keep it warm or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, why would anyone use that? I don't need it. I'm gonna
Right, of
drink my
course.
coffee before it gets cold. But then someone brought up at work that it looked disgusting that they could see inside my coffee drink or inside my cup.
Someone said that, like, oh,
Yeah,
that's just...
yeah. That's first of all, they try to make it seem like there was a health risk in case I spilt it.
Yeah, or like your computer or whatever. Like you
Yeah.
wanna.
And then they were like, yeah, no, it's disgusting that you can see inside.
It hurts my eyes.
Yeah, so
What?
that was another strange thing. I don't. But haven't you noticed that? So chips, when you share chips, people like to put some on their plate and then they'll eat it from their plate rather than like sharing from a packet.
I haven't noticed that because I don't share chips.
Okay, maybe you should share some chips with them. Do some experiments, Mikkel.
But when do I have chips and plate? Like I don't.
Okay, maybe that's just a North or a US thing rather than a Canadian thing.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I've never noticed that.
Yeah, okay. Next time you buy chips, buy some disposable plates. Put them next to the chips and just see how many people take from the chip packet itself and how many people put the chips on the plate.
But are they more hygienic or whatever?
I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't think American people are too hygienic in general. Like more so. I should
huge generalization.
I should say more so than any European.
Okay.
I think the level of hygiene is decent between the two places.
Oh, okay. You're saying they're the same. Like there's no distinct difference.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah. I don't want to offend any.
No, I thought you were giving a huge opinion there, but I guess you're saying they're the same. Okay.
Yeah, they're the same. People probably dropped off as soon as I said that and thought that I'm just a huge anti-American person now.
Yeah. No, all the American listeners are gone.
Yeah. And then, so you've started to become vegetarian since you moved to the US.
I call it flexitarian.
Flexitarian.
Yeah, it's vegetarian when it unless it's unsuitable or unless it's inconvenient. Maybe is the best way to put it.
Okay. I thought you were going to say because you can flex it at people in Canada. Say
yeah, so I can tell everybody.
Yeah,
okay. Everyone here is somewhat vegetarian anyway, but no. So I can tell everybody, haha, I'm better. I don't eat a lot of meat. No.
Was that from moving to the US, or was that more just an influence from your girlfriend?
It was definitely an influence from my girlfriend. She's full on vegetarian, borderline vegan, not quite vegan, but borderline. So strict vegetarian, and like I think it's really nice when you make meals and you eat together to just like make the same thing and eat the same thing, and it doesn't bother me. Like it doesn't bother me at all to eat vegetarian. It actually was really nice to just learn to cook new things, learn to like use new flavors, new ingredients. I thought that was awesome actually, and it like widened my palate and it widened like my knowledge of food a huge amount. And now it's like I'm happy with it. Like anywhere I go, if it's vegetarian, not vegetarian, vegan, whatever, like it doesn't bother me whatsoever.
So I don't think I've ordered a single vegan or vegetarian thing at a restaurant. It just sounds like a waste of a meal.
Like it's a ripoff. Like it's like, well, I'm out here. Why would I do that when I can just make it at home or have it? Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I probably can make it at home anyway, but it just seems like, when it's only $2 cheaper or something, why would you go for the option without a steak or the option without some meat?
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people don't like it, like meat per se, or don't think it adds a lot. And sometimes you can get a very flavorful vegetarian dishes that might even taste better than a steak.
Yeah, I agree to disagree.
Yeah, we need my steak.
I
Yeah,
mean, no,
fair.
like if you're buying a meal, right? You got your
Your meat and
standard
potatoes.
meal. You got your no, not meat and potatoes, but $15 includes some chicken, or $13 doesn't include some chicken. Of course, I'm going to go for the
But
chicken option.
that's like a ludicrous example, because usually it's like you have the chicken dish or you have like the mushroom risotto. So it's like two completely different things. And they're both very tasty. One is just vegetarian and the other one isn't.
Yeah, one just doesn't have meat as well. So, I wouldn't go for the vegetarian risotto or the risotto with.
No, I'm saying, but that's usually not the case. If the restaurant is like hip and trendy, it won't be like you can either have a chicken risotto
Yeah.
or a mushroom risotto. It'll be more like you can have chicken breast with this, that, and the other. Or for our vegetarian option, we have a mushroom risotto, for example.
Never get
That'd
the
be two
vegetarian
different
option.
things. Never. Okay.
Never.
Never mind. Forget what I said. Have you never been to a restaurant that's only vegetarian?
Yes, I have a few
Okay.
times.
Did you went for the vegetarian option?
I brought my own steak. No, of course I went for the vegetarian option.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like a meal that was worth it, though. That's what I remember. It was a really good meal, but it just didn't feel like, the standard traditional
like you felt like
meal.
you were paying too much for what you got.
Yes.
But I feel like
way
you
too
feel
much.
that way regardless of what you pay
Okay,
for.
that's true. But this so especially.
Okay.
I didn't pay for the animal's life in this one, so it didn't seem as worth it.
Has anyone ever cooked you vegetarian food and didn't tell you, and you just thought it wasn't?
No, I don't think I've ever had that experience.
You've never been fooled.
Never been. I mean, I don't know why they would hide the fact that it's vegetarian from me.
No, but they might just not have pointed it out.
No. I do, on that note though, I do prefer vegetarian soup.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't think the meat they use in soup is
Like
is
in
the best
canned
quality.
soup, like meat that can keep for 6,000 years.
Yeah, I don't think that's the best quality.
No, maybe not.
Yeah. But I think overall, as a trend, it seems to be becoming a lot more popular, vegetarianism and veganism.
Yeah, I mean, given the fact that it has benefits, or it has shown to have benefits on our society in terms of environmental impact and all of that, I feel like there's good reasoning behind.
But then what about gluten-free people?
What about them?
So what do you think of people who are clearly not allergic to gluten?
I feel like there's an anecdote coming up here, because there's someone quite close to you who might not eat gluten for no particular reason.
Yeah, so I think we should clarify. There's two people, or at least in both our lives, we have someone who's pretty against gluten.
Yeah.
In our lives. So maybe start with yours.
Okay, well, my girlfriend is celiac and is like gluten intolerant, like allergic. Like it will hurt her if she eats gluten. So not ideal, and that has to be avoided at all costs.
So my mother and actually my uncle are definitely not celiacs, because they've been eating gluten all their life and have been fine. But they decided to go on a trend, and now they say they are gluten intolerant.
Like they're committed. They stuck with it.
They stuck with it.
Okay.
Clearly, they eat gluten from occasion to occasion without realizing it, and they're fine.
Okay.
But if there's something on the menu, they'll purposely make a thing to switch it.
They're like flexi gluten free.
Yeah, I would say less flexible though, because it's annoying for all the restaurants that we go to. Imagine going to a restaurant and you're like, hey, can I have some, spaghetti, but do you have anything that's not gluten?
Yeah. That's tough.
Can I have this bread, this gluten bread, but not gluten?
I think it's hard as like someone who's with them, if there's no like inherent reason behind the gluten-free other than it's a trend, like a sort of like cleanse almost.
Yeah. And it's just awkward, at restaurants, because the waiter doesn't know, and they think maybe, okay, they have gluten intolerant, and you're just there like, what are you doing? Why are you ordering like pasta that's clearly got gluten, and then trying to make them figure out how to replace the main part of the meal
On the spot, like you
on
wouldn't
this?
check beforehand, because that's how we do it, my girlfriend and I. If we go out somewhere, we'll check beforehand and make sure, like even call to make sure that A, they have vegetarian options, and B, that they have gluten-free options, like before even going.
Yeah, no, it's just on the spot.
No, check it just on the fly. I do like that. I do think there's something to that.
I think the best part of it though is they ask the waiter, like they know exactly what's gonna interchange with the main dish and still be good.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
Not the chef, just the waiter. Like, oh, what do you think could go instead of spaghetti?
This.
Yeah.
They ask the waiter.
Yeah.
That's gold. That is gold.
So I don't think they're getting the best meal they could ever have when they do that.
No, I mean, usually if the restaurant is good, they've already designed and put together the meals, right, to make them as good as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But who am I to say?
Yeah, but I think it's good for the environment. Like, more people who are vegan and vegetarian is better.
Yeah, I mean, one of the people, actually a common friend of ours, is one of the people close to me who, like, I first encountered as like a vegetarian, like who I was very close with, and it's Dan. And he, like, when he said I've decided to go vegetarian, he said, and his reason, the first thing I asked was why, because I was like, that seems ludicrous. And I don't know how old are we at this time. Maybe we were like 18 or something,
16, 17.
Maybe 16.
Yeah.
And my first, because at this point I'd grown up most of my life in Denmark and part of my life in the Netherlands, and the cuisine there is very meat and potatoes. Let's be honest. Like, there's meat and potatoes every dinner, and there's nothing else. Like, I can't even imagine like making vegetarian food. Like
just potatoes.
At my grandparents' house, for example. At least back then I couldn't. Now I do it, especially if my girlfriend is with me. But back then I was like, that seems ludicrous. Like, they'll definitely frown. Yeah. So obviously when Dan told us, well, I've decided to become vegetarian, my first reaction was, why? And then he said, because I read a book. And then I was like, then I decided that wasn't reason enough. Yeah. And I had nothing to back that up. I just decided in my head, I'm gonna challenge this a little bit, like, just because, I don't know, sometimes I'm annoying. And I started asking, like, okay, well, what if, why? Like, what's a good source of protein? How do you get enough protein? What about eating insects? Would you eat insects if it, like, and I had a gazillion questions, and he must have had all these questions 1,000 times and been very annoyed with me. But I remember just having this, like, weird reaction to it. And now, like, I think that was a silly reaction, and I should probably have been more understanding, but I guess I just didn't know any better.
Oh, so you're so mature now, Mikkel.
Yeah, no, definitely not mature. Just I know better, and it's more common, and there's no shock factor anymore. Like, it's very normal for people to be vegetarian, and at least around me.
Yeah, at least I think with that period when Dan came in the one day and was like, okay, now I'm vegetarian. It's like a new phase, a new fad.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like. That's why I was like, this seems silly. This seems like temporary.
Yeah, so imagine I came in one day with, how I imagine is I came in with like an emo haircut, dyed hair, Yeah. You would be like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you?
Yeah.
And I feel like it was one of those things.
Yeah, almost. Yeah. It was like, this is so out of the ordinary, unexpected, and I didn't understand. But if someone now came and said to me, "Oh, I'm vegetarian," I wouldn't even bat an eye. I'd be like, "That's great."
Yeah, that's true, and I think that's happened as well with. I think Alice is now, or a load of our friends are now vegetarian.
Yeah, well, it's just good. I mean, I'm for the most part especially when I'm with Liz, with my girlfriend. But
I think we don't push this fact enough, but when there are a few vegetarians around and I'm with them, they always want to go to vegetarian restaurants, and it's a letdown for myself. And I don't think they realize that. So I think it's a little bit, it's great, but it's a little bit selfish at the same time.
Yeah. Do you point that out? Do you say, "Can I choose"?
No, and I just end up eating the vegetarian option.
Yeah. I mean, but a lot of restaurants do both now, at least in Montreal they do.
Yeah, but there seems to be like a phase where people love just vegetarian restaurants. Like it's automatically a higher rating if it's vegan or vegetarian.
Oh, I see. Like online, like the reviews.
Go to Google reviews or go to TripAdvisor. I promise you, if you make your restaurant vegan or vegetarian, you're going to get a star increase.
Like a whole star.
A whole star, yeah. Doesn't matter. Same food, just take out that piece of chicken, and you're going to get a star increase.
Genius marketing.
Yeah.
You got to cater for your audience. You got to cater for your customers,
Yeah.
Marketing geniuses.
Yeah. But overall, I guess a good trend, a weird trend how it's impacted us so much.
Yeah, and I feel like it's only gonna get more impactful. Like my example again is like my grandparents. Like they're in their late 70s. I don't think they've gone a day in their lives without eating meat, right?
Yeah.
And not even a dinner. Like I wouldn't be surprised. And then last time I was home, which was over Christmas, I went to visit them and I went to introduce them to my girlfriend, and I was like, you know what, we'll cook dinner tonight because Liz is vegetarian and she's allergic to gluten, so I don't want to like have you guys do that, like have that hassle, or it might be too difficult, or they might not understand, or they might get something wrong and she'd get ill. So I just didn't want to risk that. So I said, all right, Liz and I will cook for you guys. And they were fine with that. A little skeptical, but they were fine with it. But I think that was the first time they've had like a solely vegetarian dinner.
Did they have any meat afterwards?
No, they didn't.
They didn't?
They didn't have any compensation. Like they just had that food, which I think is the first for them. And I don't think they had ever expected that to ever happen. And now our generation, like most people, have had a significant number of only vegetarian meals. So I think it's just going to increase. I think it's just going to be more and more and more and more, I think is my point.
Yeah.
Until hopefully the whole world is vegetarian and we don't ruin the environment anymore.
Do you think I will ever become vegetarian, Mikkel?
No, Russ, I think you're a lost cause. No, I don't think you're a lost cause. I think I don't think I will ever be 100% vegetarian. Not because I'm stubborn and I hate vegetarians. Not at all. Actually, I try to be as much vegetarian as I can. I really like food, and I really like meat and dishes with meat in it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's
a
great argument, but I think that's like the only argument really that there is.
Yeah.
I just like it, and
I want
to taste things.
I think that's the most people's reaction to it.
Yeah, but I try and I cut it down, and I feel like a big step is limiting it, and we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll all be vegetarian sooner or later.
Maybe we'll be forced to be vegetarian.
Yeah, maybe it'll be a government controlled vegetarianism, and we just like a quarantine. It's like you all stay inside and you all eat only vegetables.
I mean, wouldn't we have avoided this thing if we had to be vegetarian, right?
Yeah. We wouldn't have had these spread of disease, pandemics from different animals.
Yeah. So no bat soup for anyone.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any conclusive evidence that it was in fact the bats, but
yeah, I don't think it was directly from people eating bats, but I think it was, at least the theory goes,
that they started there and then might have passed it on to other animals that we didn't eat or ate
during wet markets and stuff in China. So yeah, I think that that brings us to our conclusion.
Yeah.
In our podcast.
I think so.
We didn't do an introduction, Mikkel.
We did do an introduction. You introduced me. I introduced you.
Yeah, but to the podcast, what it means, what it's about.
Oh, yeah. I guess we should do that. I think we can conclude by explaining that. That's like a little cliffhanger for next time.
Yeah, maybe that's. yeah. Okay. So the podcast name is Think About It. Just think about it.
Just think about it.
Do you want to give the background to that?
Yeah, I could.
A little inside joke.
Yeah, definitely. I can give the background. So, Ross and I were in math class together back in high school or senior school.
I would like to just clarify: we're mathletes.
Yeah, we were in fact mathletes at
the
cool highest
kids.
level. Yeah, ballers in high school, and we did maths. We did maths A levels. We did further maths as well. So even more intense. Automatic mathlete status if you take further maths, by the way. And there were 5 people in our class, and we had God knows how many hours of maths a week, but a lot. It was like the main part of our syllabus by far. And we used to have these, like, we used to solve problems in class because there's only 5 of us. It was quite intimate with the teacher. We had 2 teachers, not at the same time, but we had 2 teachers teaching us various aspects of math, and one of them, shout out Mr. Anderberg, he every time we had a question or he was explaining something, he'd be like, oh, just think about it. Just think about it. You'll get it. You'll just think about it as a solution to our questions or queries. Like, oh no, just think about it. Which is, it's tough to hear as a young person in their late teens, and you're frustrated that you can't figure out a question, and then the response to your frustration is, oh, just have a little think, or just think about it.
I think it's good advice, though. I think
it is good advice.
It's frustratingly good advice, and I think we've taken that to the next level. Whenever one of us had a question,
100%.
That'd be the automatic response.
Yeah.
Regardless if it was something to think about.
Regardless if it was maths, just think about it. Any question.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I think it's a great name for this podcast is I think we would be a lot better off if everyone just thought about things a little bit.
100% agree.
Just a little bit.
A lot of people don't think, Mikkel. That's the conclusion after 27 years of my life.
Yeah, a lot of people just don't think about it.
People just need to think about it.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, and I think that concludes our podcast episode 1.
Yes, sir. Till next time.
Till next time.